The sand under your feet is wet, not with water. You learned that on your first morning here, the way you learn everything in this place too late to forget it. Above you, the crowd is a single animal, a wall of noise that rises and falls like the sea, and somewhere in it, a hand is going to lift, and a thumb is going to turn, and that small thing, a thumb, is going to decide whether your morning ends with you still breathing. There is one rule here, older than the laws of Rome, and nobody ever says it aloud because everybody already knows it. The day you stop being worth watching is the day you die. So, you fight. Not to win, they do not let men like you win for long. You fight to still be interesting tomorrow. You were not born to this. That is the part that will never stop burning. You were born free in Thrace, under a sky you would still know if you saw it again. You had a name your mother gave you. You were a soldier. You carried a spear for Rome once, before something went wrong, before you were a thing instead of a man. Now you are a number on a list of property in a town called Capua, owned by a man named Lentulus Batiatus, who feeds you well for exactly one reason. Meat that is going to be cut should be kept fresh. You are Spartacus, and there is a road outside this city, a long, straight road, paved stone, that runs from the gate of Capua all the way to Rome. Remember the road. It is going to matter at the end more than the arena, more than the army, more than anything. Because the men who own you are about to learn the most dangerous thing in the world, a man with nothing left to lose, and you are not going to teach them alone. There are 70 others in this place just like you. And 2 clocks have started to run, and once they start, neither one will ever stop. Level 1, the 2 clocks. The first is the one every gladiator carries, and you have carried it since your first wet morning, a body kept alive one fight at a time. You are worth something only while the crowd wants to watch you, and the crowd is fickle, and the blade is fast. Every man you train beside has the same expiry date stamped into him. None of you say it, all of you hear it ticking. The second clock is bigger and slower. It is Rome. Out there is a republic that has built its whole idea of itself on never yielding. Right now, you are beneath its notice. You are livestock with a grievance. But the first clock and the second clock are about to collide, and the moment they do, there is no more turning back, for you or for anyone who follows you. Level 2, 70 knives. It begins in the kitchen, because the kitchen is the one room in the ludus full of edges, cleavers, spits, skewers. 70 or so of you decide you would rather die on your own terms tonight than on a rich man's terms next month. So you take the knives meant for meat and you turn them on the men who guard the meat. You fight your way out of the gates of Capua with kitchen iron and bare hands, and then luck, real luck, the first in years. On the road, you fall on a convoy of wagons carrying gladiator weapons to another show. Real swords, real armor. In one night, you have gone from 70 men with cooking knives to 70 armed and trained fighters loose in the countryside, and you go to ground on a mountain. A field slave has a hoe and to spare. But you gladiators are the one population Rome deliberately trained to kill, kept hard, taught to fight in formation and to stand when other men run. They made a weapon and called it property. You are the one kind of slave that was always, secretly, an army waiting for a general. Level 3, the mountain. Rome sends a man named Gaius Claudius Glaber with about 3,000 men, and he does the sensible thing. He does not climb the slopes of Vesuvius after you. He sits at the bottom, blocks the only path down, and waits for hunger to do his work. It is a good plan. It is the plan of a man who thinks he is fighting bandits. So you do the thing nobody sane would do. The slopes are wild with grapevine. Your men cut it and twist it into long ropes, hand over hand, all the length you need, and then, on the steep blind side of the mountain where no Roman is watching, you go down the cliff, rope by rope, in the dark, an army lowering itself off a volcano. And you come around behind Glaber's camp, where there is no wall and no watch, because who could possibly come from there? You fall on 3,000 Romans from the one direction they never guarded. Glaber's army is shattered, and here is the second mechanism. the one that lets a revolt grow into a war. You do not just beat a legion, you harvest it. Every Roman camp you take is a warehouse of swords, shields, javelins, armor, grain. The enemy is your supply line. Every soldier Rome sends to crush you arrives carrying the equipment your next 1,000 recruits will carry. Rome is, without meaning to, arming the very army it is trying to destroy. Level 4. The army that should not exist. Word runs through the countryside faster than any messenger. There are men in the south who beat the Romans and walk free, and they come. Off the great estates, out of the grain fields in the shepherd's hills, they come by tens, by hundreds, by thousands, the people Rome insists are not people, walking off the farms to find you. And you do the thing that turns a mob into a war. You drill them. You take farmhands who have never held a sword and teach them to stand in a line and hold it, the way Rome taught you before you turned it against them. Beside you stands Crixus, a Gaul, hard and brave, leading his own people. Tens of thousands now follow the two of you. There is a thing Rome cannot say out loud in the Senate, and it is this: an army of the people they own is beating the armies of the people who own them. Level 5. The winter you beat Rome. Now Rome is afraid, finally, properly afraid, and it stops sending small men. In the year 72 BC, it sends both consuls, the two highest officials in the Republic, each with a full army, north and south, to crush you between them. This is the full weight of the Roman state, the thing that has never lost a war it chose to finish. And you beat them. You beat both of them. For one winter, one impossible winter, the most powerful republic on earth cannot beat a slave. You have broken a praetor, shattered another, defeated both consuls in the field, and you stand at the foot of the Alps with the whole army of the enslaved behind you, and the road out of Italy open in front of you. Over those mountains, every single person who followed you walks away free, home, alive. Gaul, Thrace, Germania, anywhere that is not Rome. You are one mountain range away from the only clean victory a revolt like this can ever have, and then it slips. The army will not go. After the cliff, the consuls, the long, cold march to the very edge of freedom, they look at the mountains, and they look back at the rich, soft belly of Italy behind them, and they turn around. For reasons still argued over, the men turn south, away from the only ending that does not end in crosses. The high water mark of your whole life is a road not taken. Level 6. Crassus. Rome has run out of ordinary men to send, so now it sends its richest. Marcus Licinius Crassus, who owns more of Rome than any man alive, takes the command nobody else wants and raises 8 legions out of his own ambition and his own purse. And he does something to his own soldiers, early, that tells you exactly what kind of war this has become. A part of his army breaks and runs from you in a skirmish, the way Roman armies have been running from you for 2 years. So Crassus revives a punishment, so old most Romans thought it was only a story: decimation. He lines up the units that fled, counts off the men by tens, and has every 10th man beaten to death by the other 9 by his friends, his brothers, the men beside him. He kills dozens of his own soldiers on purpose. From now on, his men fear Crassus more than they fear you. The clocks that started so far apart have finally come level. Level 7. The splintering. An army of the desperate is held together by winning and by will, and you have furnished both for 2 years, but you cannot be everywhere, and not every man wants what you want. Crixus and his Gauls break away to fight their own war, their own way, and Crassus catches them apart from you, alone, and destroys them. You are learning the cruelest lesson of command. There are things inside your own ranks you cannot control, and every one of them is a crack the enemy will find. Level 8. The ditch and the sea. Crassus has stopped trying to beat you in open battle because that has not worked for anyone, and started trying to trap you. He pins your army into the very toe of Italy, the far southern tip, and then he does something that should be impossible. He digs. A ditch and a wall dug clean across the whole peninsula from sea to sea, miles of it to fence you in like cattle and starve you against the water. So you look to the water, You strike a bargain with the Cilician pirates, the sea raiders who rule that coast. Gold, all of it. For ships to carry your people across to Sicily. It is a way out. It is hope. And the pirates take your gold, and they sail away, and they never come back. There are no ships. There was never going to be a passage. The one door you bought turns out to have been painted on a wall. The trap is closed. Everyone who followed you is inside it. And the army's clock, the one that dies the moment you stop moving, you can hear it now, very loud, very close. Level 9, the last morning. So you do the only thing left that is yours to do. On a night of snow and wind, you throw your whole weight at one stretch of the ditch, fill it with earth and timber and bodies, and you break out back into open Italy, running, still running. But the other jaw is closing now. Pompey is marching back from Spain to share the kill, and between Crassus behind you and Pompey ahead, the country is filling with legions. There is no more room to run. So you stop running. They say that before the last battle by the river Salaris, you had your own horse brought to you and you killed it in front of the whole army. If we win, you tell them, I will have all the horses I want from the Romans. And if we lose, I will not need one. There is no line of retreat now, not even for the general. What happens on that field, history mostly leaves in shadow, and we will leave it there too. You die there, somewhere in the press, fighting on foot, like the man you trained beside in Capua, not a king on a horse, not a god, just a Thracian soldier with a sword, killed among the thousands he could not lead over the mountains. The revolt dies with you on the banks of the Salaris. Level 10, 6,000 crosses, and now Crassus does the thing the whole machine was built to do. He takes 6,000 of the captured 6,000 and crucifies them, one after another, along the Via Appia, the whole 120 miles of it from Capua, where you broke out, all the way to the gates of Rome, across every 40 yards. So that every traveler, every merchant, every child for years would walk that road between two endless lines of the dead and understand, in their body, what Rome does to a slave who forgets he is a slave. But here is what the road missed. They searched the field by the Salaris, and they wanted you most of all. Crassus wanted your body more than any of the 6,000, wanted to nail the general himself at the head of that terrible road. And they never found you. Your body was never identified, unmarked, uncrucified, beyond their reach. Another life history for God is waiting. Subscribe.